Hello everyone, I'm Yvonne, a children's librarian here at the Manchester City Library, and I want to welcome you to Elementary Experiments, or welcome you back if you've been here before. Here we will do experiments, activities, and craft aimed at elementary grades 1 through 6, with a focus on STEAM, or science, technology, engineering, arts, or math. With school still in and weather warming up, we know that everyone has a lot to do, so we will continue to post 2 elementary experiments each month here online to share our activities and crafts with as many people as possible. So that is going to be on the first and the third Tuesday of each month. But if you are in grades 1 through 6 and you like what you see, remember that we also have each month activities and crafts that we do together in person on the last Tuesday of the month at 3:30 p.m. at the Manchester City Library. That's the main branch. So if you want to join us in person and you are in the correct age range, then please do visit our website to register and make sure that we have enough supplies and crafts for everyone. Now that we've covered all of that, let's get into this week's Elementary Experiments theme. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Elementary Experiments, where we are having a Pi Day celebration. So I don't know how many of you are aware of Pi. I know that we have talked about it a little bit in one of our fall elementary experiments. But pi is something that is often used in math, and the abbreviated form of the number is 3.14. So Pi Day is normally celebrated on the 14th of March. Now, March is the 3rd month of the year, so the way Americans write the date, it would be 3 for the month and then 14 for the day, making it 3.14. And that's why we celebrate Pi Day on the 14th of March. Obviously, this video is coming out a little bit before that, so hopefully you'll have some time to prepare if you want to celebrate Pi Day on Pi Day, or you can just do it along with me for an early celebration, which is always fun. So you might have noticed that I said the abbreviation for pi is 3.14. That's because pi is a really fascinating number because it will go on literally forever. So it goes 3.14, and then the number continues in a non-repeating string. So even though obviously the numbers will have to be repeated, so there will be like more than 4, they are not repeated in any order. It's completely random. And that's really cool and unusual, especially because pi is so very useful in a lot of the things we need to do to figure even everyday stuff out. And because we need to use it so often, we came up with a symbol to represent pi, so we didn't have to keep writing all of those decimal points if we didn't want to. So this right here is the symbol that we use to represent pi. So a lot of Pi Day things will have this on there. And obviously, pi also is like the food that we eat. So pi, like the symbol, is spelled P-I, and then pi, like the pie we eat, is P-I-E. And because we actually use pi in a lot of equations that deal with circles, having pi on Pi Day is also kind of a traditional celebration. So I think one of the most common uses for pi that you will come across is finding the area of a circle. So this is the equation for that. We have the area of a circle equals pi r squared. And here r is the radius of a circle. So when you have a circle and you find the middle point, the point from the middle to the edge of a circle, if you measure that, that is going to be called the radius. And if you plug the radius of your circle into this equation, you can then find the area, which is very useful, but not exactly what we're interested in today. I thought today we would actually be more interested in finding the circumference of a circle for decorating our very own pie for Pi Day. So these are the equations for finding the circumference of a circle. Circumference is another way of saying the outside. So if you draw a circle, the line that you draw for the circle is actually the circumference. And sometimes a circumference can be hard to find if you have a ruler that is, straight and does not bend. Then sometimes it can be hard to measure around a circle. Or if you have a circle that's really big and you just don't have anything big enough to measure it. So to find the circumference, you can use radius, like we talked about, which is measuring from the middle of the circle to the edge of a circle. That would be this one here, where the circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. But I find it's easier, if you can, to just use the diameter. So the diameter is if you measure all the way across the circle from one end to the other, straight across the middle. So the diameter is actually already 2 times the radius. So here we can just do pi times the diameter to get the circumference, and that will tell us how big around the edge is on our circle. And that can be very helpful if we want to decorate our pie and say put M&Ms all the way around the edge. That can tell us how many M&Ms we need. But I am getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and get into our actual first activity, where we are going to make a pudding pie for Pi Day. So go ahead and gather the supplies, and then I will meet you right back here to get started on that. Okay, so I have got a couple of instant pudding packets. These are vanilla, but you can do whatever flavor you would like or add something to flavor it. I have got a pre-made pie crust here that we're going to use. I have my bowl here, and I have already poured my 2.5 cups of milk into the bowl, and I have some M&Ms for the decorating at the end, which is where we are going to use our math still. So before I actually start with the pudding, I'm going to go ahead and measure my pie crust. So I know, let's see. So it looks like this is an 8.5 inch pie. So we are going to put that number in our brains at 8.5 inches so that we will be ready to figure out how many M&Ms we need for our decoration. Okay, now we are going to mix all of our Jell-O pudding into our milk until it is a nice smooth consistency, although it will be thick. So if you do have a really good mixing utensil, you can use it. So a whisk is kind of suggested. A whisk is that kind of thing where you have a handle and then you have a whole bunch of wires that kind of go out and form like a light bulb shape. I don't have one here, so I'm going to be using a fork, which will definitely work. It just might require a little bit more mixing. So we're just going to start mixing, and just be careful you don't mix too quickly, because we don't want to spill our milk all over the place. But yeah, I'm just going to start mixing And I will see you guys back here when we have a liquid. All right, so I have got my my graham cracker crust pie crust. I also went and grabbed a spatula because I think it's thick enough that we're gonna need it. And I'm gonna go ahead and pour my beautiful vanilla pudding into my pie. All right, I think that is pretty enough. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put this into the refrigerator. Because the nice thing about this recipe is that we don't actually need to cook it. We just need a refrigerator, a nice cold place to put it in. And we are going to let this set or let it solidify in the fridge while we will figure out how many M&Ms we need to put around the circumference of our pie. And then when our pie is done, we will test to see how close we got. Math is hard. Maybe I'm gonna mess up. Who knows? All right. Now to the math while we let our pie cook in the fridge. All right, so we are dealing with this equation, which is the circumference equals pi times the diameter. And if you remember, we measured the diameter of the pie, which was 8.5 or 8.5, right? So we know that the circumference for our particular pie is going to equal 3.14, because that is the shortened version of pi that we are going to use, times times 8.5. All right, here we go. And whereas we could work that out, we could also use our calculator. So let's see. 3.14 times 8.5 is going to be 26.69. Okay. All right, so according to our math, our pi is 26.69 inches around, because we did our diameter measurement in inches. And so our final circumference is going to be in inches. So that is very helpful. But now we need to know how many M&Ms that will take, right? So first of all, we take our ruler again, and we take a M&M, and we measure that M&M, and it looks like an M&M is about 1/2 inch in diameter itself. So if we take our circumference here, and we're just going to go ahead and divide that by our M&M. Well, let's see, by the diameter of our M&M. So that is 0.5. So we're going to have our circumference divided by the length or the diameter of our M&M. And again, I'm just going to go straight to the calculator because we are more interested in how we got the answer through, we're more interested in our equation than we are doing the math ourselves at this point in time. 0.5. So it looks like the answer to this is 53.38. All right. This is our math so far of our Pi Day pie decorations. So according to my calculations, if I am correct, it is going to take about 53 M&Ms to go around the circumference of my pie. We're going to get 53 M&Ms, and we're going to see if they fit nicely around my pie, or if I have miscalculated and possibly cost me an M&Ms. Because one of the nice ways that you can use this is that if we pretend that M&Ms are actually like quite expensive, right? And if we had to buy our M&Ms like one at a time rather than a whole bag, by doing this math, I can figure out exactly how many M&Ms I need so that I don't end up spending more money than I really have to, because I already have a good idea about what my decorations will cost. And therefore, if I have done my math right, I will have saved myself money in my M&M pie decorating scheme. Okay, so once the pie is done solidifying, I will bring that out and we can see if I was right. Great, welcome back. We have our pie that has been chilled, and we have our guess of 53 M&Ms. So I'm going to go ahead and decorate them around in no particular order, and we'll see if my calculations were correct. All right, so interesting. It turns out we have 9 M&Ms left, which means it only took 44 M&Ms to go all the way around my pie. So I am thinking that the why the math that I did not actually work out is because I did measure all the way to the very edge of my pie. But if you look at the M&Ms, the diameter, the widest part of the M&Ms, doesn't actually go all the way around the outside. It is inside a little bit. And on a circle, even a little bit of shrinkage in the diameter means there's quite a bit less of the circumference. So I think what we have learned from this is that even with some math preparation, taking the time to think a little bit more and doing the little bit more math of figuring out the diameter minus the radius of the M&Ms would have gotten us a lot closer. Still, making mistakes is part of the reason why we do this. So now we can keep that in mind for the future. All right, so I am going to put this pie away to enjoy later. I'm gonna pop it back in the fridge for now because we still have a craft to do. So I am going to clean up and then meet you back here for the craft. But I will also add that this is the last month for our winter reading. I know winter is mostly over, but we are having winter reading minutes are able to be submitted up until March 1st, and that's not a joke. So remember to continue to record your reading on Read Squared. or stop in at the Manchester City Library to sign up if you want to try and get it all done before it is over. All right, I think that is all I have to say. So until next time, bye. All right, so today's craft is actually pretty simple, but I think fun and possibly also helpful in the future. So we are making pi bead bracelets to help us remember some of the first digits of pi, because if you recall, 3.14 is only the shortened version that we can use for some easier math, but pi does go on basically to infinity. Actually, if you guys want to check out this website, they actually have pi listed to the first 1 million digits. So if you want to check that out and scroll down, it's pretty crazy. And none of the numbers repeat in a sequence, right? So they do not form a pattern, even though some of the numbers will, of course, repeat. So that's one of the reasons why pi is so cool and so weird. So we are going to make bracelets to help us remember the first, I think, 9-ish, 8 or 9 digits. Really, it depends on how many beads you want to put on your bracelet, and also how big your wrist is. So we have, of course, our little craft kits that, as usual, will be at the Children's Reference Desk at the Manchester City Library. So if you are in grades 1 through 6, you can pick one of these up. Otherwise, you can get the supplies and do them on your own. Like I said, this week it is pretty simple. It's basically just an elastic string, which we have here, and then an assortment of colored beads. What we did do is we decided for the decimal point, we did put in a pearl bead. And then for the other numbers, we have regular pony beads. Whoop, hold on, let me grab something to hold these beads. Right, so I grabbed a plate so that my beads will not roll away from me. Just gonna go ahead and pour them out. All right, so if you pick up the kit to take home with you, it is going to have a set number of beads in there, and they are going to correspond to the digits of pi, right? So here I have an example. So we start here, and we have 3 beads in yellow for 3, and then we have the pearl decimal point, and then we have 1, 4, 1, 5, 9, 2, and 6. And in the kit, there is another 5 digit. I don't know if it will fit on here, but you have some options. So you'll need to look through the beads that you get and find the beads that match to that number. So if you guys want to come to our in-person elementary experiments, which is going to be on the last Tuesday of the month, we will have extra pony beads so that you guys can kind of mix and match your own numbers. Also, another way to do your pi digit bracelet if you want to get more digits on there, but it is a little bit trickier. So the way to get more digits is to take the different beads and assign each type of bead a number. like 1 through 0 or 0 through 9. And that way you could get more digits of pi onto your bracelet, but you would have to remember which color matched up to which number. So if you want to do that, we will have the more beads and more options at the in-person event. But in the kit, just so that we could get the most fun to the most people kind of thing, we do have just the certain beads that match the number of beads, if that makes sense. We'll go through it a little bit to iron it out. All right, so to get started, I have a little bit of tape, and I am going to take the end of my string and I am going to tape it onto my plate, which I know I'm allowed to tape to because it's my plate. So if you want to tape your string to something, you might want to ask to make sure that the tape will not hurt the surface. But if I put the tape on my string, that means when I put a bead on, it won't fall off. It'll be stopped by the tape. So that's what I've got set up. All right, and my first number for pi is going to be 3. So I have got, whoops, oh my gosh, they're rolling. All right, I've got all of these colors. And what I have to do is find the beads that only have 3 of one color, which I'm pretty sure is this orange, right? So we've got 3 of these orange beads. And then we have the pearl, which is the point. So let me get that started. We've got the 3 orange, and then the pearl. All right, and then I need to find a bead that only has 1 of the color. So it looks like this clear red bead. And then one of the beads that only have 4. So it looks like that is these blue beads. All right, and then we need another bead that only has 1 of that color. And in my kit, that's going to be this shiny black one. So all the kits are a little bit different, but each one, if you just track down which set has only that many colors, it will be okay. Okay, so we got 3.141. The next one we're looking for is one with 5, which I think there are a couple of options for 5. I've got one with dark green and one with clear blue. Let's do clear blue. All right, now the next digit of pi is 9. So it looks like the yellow beads are the one with 9. So they go on next. All right, and then it looks like 2 is the next digit, which are these for me. For me, in my set, it's going to be these clear-ish pink. And then a 6, which is these black ones. Okay, and then the next one is 5, which I do have these dark green ones that are 5. But I think I am going to just stop with the 6. Although you can do what you want, because I am going to tie it off just like that. So I'm going to stretch it out and loop it around to get a tie. If you have trouble tying, then just ask an adult or an older kid who was able to tie it for you. Okay. And there we go. That is my pi bracelet. So this way, if I'm ever trying to figure out or remember what the numbers of pi is, and I'm wearing my bracelet, I have a little cheat sheet where I can just count the beads, and I will know pi up to let's see, 1, 2, 3, the first 8 digits of pi. Okay, like I said, it's a pretty simple one today, but it is also fun and leaves you with a colorful and useful bracelet to wear. So I would love to know if you guys can think of any other cool ways of remembering some of the digits of pi. How else would you wear them or incorporate them into your everyday decorations in life? But other than that, that is all I have for this craft. So I am going to clean up before I close out. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for our Pi Day celebration here at Elementary Experiments. I hope that you enjoyed and learned a little bit about the number pi, as well as enjoyed a pi of your own. As usual, we do have some books to recommend if you enjoyed either pi the number or pi the food. So you can find those at the Manchester City Library. And I want to remind everyone again that on the last Tuesday of the month at 3:30, we will be having our in-person event. So this month, that's going to be the 28th of March when we are going to have our in-person event. So anyone who is in grades 1 through 6 and you have time on at 3:30 on March 28th, please go ahead and register so we'll make sure we have enough for everyone. Although if you do drop in, we will definitely try and make room for you. So we would be very happy to see you there. But if not, we will be continuing to post our videos online. So our next video will be on the 3rd Tuesday of this month, which is the 21st. So keep an eye out for that, where we're going to have a little bit more fun with food. So until then, I will say goodbye.